building a system tonight. I've been playing around with these for a long time with this smooth candle system, and the idea of doing a lot of layering here. And I posted these in the I think a couple of these indicators in here. All I've done is taken a smooth Hakanashi. I got 4 in here, and the settings here 111 correspond to inside the script, so I just kind of try to make it longer and longer. I don't actually know what those things are, but just trying to slightly make it and give it a 3D look. Now I played around with a lot of the colors on here, and it's a bottomless pit of possibility, but I do love the way it rolls over. And if every color is different on each layer, you're going to see the you're going to see a color spectrum that you could write a trade plan around it. And I'm doing this for at-a-glance trading. And I do have to put one thing on top of this. I'm always going to put a moving average on top because I want to know where the market's currently at, and treat this like the tick chart. I go for the trusty 1 period moving average, and I think I make it white just because it seems to be low vibration color. And then you can see actually where it closed, and that pullbacks in this color you want to get long. So the rule system really would be here. You know, if you had to pick a rule system, that anytime you're rallying into blue, you're selling. You're selling. Anytime you're pulling back into this, you're buying. You're buying. Now here it's a little dicey, not the best trades in the world, and here I guess you got stopped. This was a good trade for that move, just that last thing. So I haven't tightened these filters up. Now it's a matter of how much lag you want to put on this thing. I've got it pretty tight right here. I want to go to the next time frame. Now the 1 hour chart would be certainly, you've only got about a 1 hour signal there, and here would be your buys. So any pullbacks in the longer, a lot less risky on the entries on these 1 hours. Plus you can just see, because of the line chart, you can just get that instant clue that, you know what, you could draw a trend line here as you're marching up, and this is just real no-brainer trading. Or if you are short here, but you have 100 pip stop, you're getting chopped. So they do a 100 pip rally into that. So the confluence between the 100-yard line, the top, bottom, the colors are changing. Real good way to make an easy 50 pips. An easy 25 here. It comes back to the 25-yard line. I just did a thing on the gold and half hour, but the 1 hour euro, or even going to the and just coming up with a real nice, here you'd be long, right? Obviously you're long. Here was the turnaround hammer. So that's like a stripe thing. And experimenting with, in a way it's a moving average, but it's pretty snug. Plus it's a paint bar, and that's what I really was trying to replicate, because when I was inside a trade station years ago, you could create a paint bar, which is a candle, and give it some criteria to paint the bar. It's too bad I couldn't get that thing to trade like an EA and jump in. But it's okay to get long here on this pullback because you've got the color behind you saying it's okay to buy. So it's a real good way to not get too in here. These pullbacks up in here, as long as you're blue, you have to be on the sell side until we capitulate into this 25 handle, which corresponds to this cluster of drama back here. So if you go to the period of 30 minutes, a little bit more, you got to be quick straw McGraw. Maybe you're babysitting this puppy, and you're going to wait for this entry here, or you just put a pending there, and it just happens to be a good entry. Here was a nice sell. A nice sell. You could almost stand by your this trend here. So we fall out of bed in the Asian session, and then we rally, pull back, and here would be the colored hammer. I suppose this is like a big dippity-do here. But of course, as it would go, as it normally is, the thinner you slice it, the more signals you get. I think as thin as you could, although this is a smooth candle, so you are filtering out a lot of your stuff. But if I go to the 15 minute, I would say start to think about the pip range of the color. If you put that as one more filter on top of the system, the criteria being if you're in say a 20 pip or a 10 pip range, and I could put a 10 pip grid up here on the 15 and pick out ripe entry zones. Like here, it's quiet. Here, obviously, ultimate sell zone for stop entry. Now you would treat it differently on a 15-minute chart because these colors would mean something different. Sure, you might be long on this pullback, but they're short-lived. And here is the just before the close of the session big smash down. So we saw that coming yesterday. I was slightly long here on this drift up because it seemed like a few easy pips and then smash. Euro smashes all the way down into this, and it holds that. And then we're banging up against here, and you could have bought on the 15-minute clock, just nail the buy here because you had the color telling you to, plus you had the top bottom. And here you had the same thing here, but it's getting a little bit this is going to be the contention point coming into Sunday. I mean, yeah, Sunday night there, and possibly coming down here, but just seeing how this color behaves. You're checking the chart every say hour. It's going to take a while to build up this. This is about a consolidation of probably about an hour and a half. And when it pops its head above here, I need a bit different color for this. It's like turquoise going up, but I really should get a color that matches this, a little brighter color, because I want to see those. I think when it pops its head above water there, it's just a great place to get in, just like here. It's a lot like a bull and bear power when it dips into that window. But yeah, it's too much fun playing around with this stuff because and if you go to the daily chart, I guess you'd be a really position trader because you're already smoothing this thing out so much that I don't know if you want to smooth it out that much. But here you like short this whole time, but it's really the contradiction point here where you have the color. Here you get a slight pullback into the trend and then smash. But another classic top bottom. So combining the trend lines with this color, with this rainbow trend thing, it's just killer. Now technically you should be short here because it's blue. You pulled up into here, and from the standpoint of the daily, yeah, but there's always the sure I sold here, I got out here, but the party's over and we rip up, and then the lagging thing comes in. But you're really looking at this thing to sell. Any rallies into the blue, you're selling. Kind of on the end of the day. Double bottom inside of this thing, triple top, crap out. The only place, probably a bracketed doji stop entry if you're a daily trader. And always keeping an eye on the fact that that's 50 pips. So if you're looking to make this many pips, you could have got in here to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 pips, starting to take profits when you crush into this window. But maybe you left some on the table there. Who knows, right? Some up to the discretion of the here pullback into that color, double tweezer bottom. But these, I love these when it goes into that striper mode there. You get these complex where everything's crisscrossing over. You get these very unique candles that look like a roll of Smarties. I don't know if they have Smarties over there. This wonderfully striped inverted hammer, and then these things where you just see it peeking out. Love that. Just love when it just oof. And then here, look at this for the limit trader, scalperator. Couple pips on that puppy. 200 pips of wick. But I'm really becoming re-fond of this because I do want at-a-glance trading, because now that I got my other broker back online who cut my speed down to like creeper gear, I'm able to now just nail it at the market. Now if this was the 5-minute chart, I could see in a market that's really got a head of steam going on it, I could see getting in on this 5-minute basis. It'd be the pullback here into this color. Just nail it, boom. Ride it to here, or even just ride it to here, get out. But it's kind of nice to have this backdrop, you know. It's definitely confirmation as far as I'm concerned that this top becomes a bottom with this backdrop color, safe to go long. Even here, even as we squeeze out, as soon as it go blue, the only sell is this one. But you can see that was a trap for those trend guys. So you can see when you dial down the 5-minute, you can see how they're trapping people. But what's really cool is this on the 5-minute, this candy striper, wow, into the triangle. This really cleans it up. And you can always look at the you know, always looking at the shoulder head thing. 5-minute sell based on this, nothing else. But you got the okay to sell because of the blue, and it just really looks cool. It looks cool. I just really am fond of the way it looks. But it's trying to create a 3D chart in some way, but it's like better than what was available inside of 2000 version of, and I paid $2,000 for the damn thing. Like they nickel and dime me to death on that one. This is really cool. This candle has a lot of wick and very little. This is like the ultimate doji here. And this is the last gasp to board the train. It's so interesting because there's more black on the top and bottom of this candle right here. It's very unique. Just a killer one. Super slice, and then one more thing. Last top bottom. See you buy. Of course, this was the close. But I'm buying here on Sunday. This is the 25-yard line. This is the big round psychological 120. You could have had trailing sell stops here, or you just keep selling into that. You're selling limits. You can definitely see it's drying up. Pullback entering on the clock here because of just that. You're in an uptrend. Boom. Or you have buy limits here, and hopefully they came back and picked you up at the station. But yeah, I'm really excited about using this as my at-a-glance filter. And if you are trading all these currency pairs, you could put this up on the 1 hour and scan for what it's about. You're typically going to get a lot of echoes in other markets, and it really comes down to you can only do one thing at a time if you're one person, unless you have a full-out staff. Another thing here is the this killer like here. You know, if you're day trading this thing, you've got a buy limit here, but you've got the go ahead. You got a buy limit. You got to go ahead to put a buy limit here. Okay to go in on those structured things because you got the background color running. Pull back into the thing. Not really a top bottom, but you got the okay to go short. Here to go short, a little bit of a trap. You kind of have to see that coming because you got this big climax looking across. If it doesn't work out, you know, you have to have a little bit of look at this. Plus, as you come near the end of the day and it goes choppy, that being the problem with this stuff, of course, you always have to have the trend line going. So you realize, you know, the party's going to be over at some point. And I guess if you were quick on the draw, you could have picked up about 20 pips here. And also being aware of the turnarounds on the 5-minute chart at the 50-yard line when you get the yin-yang and then zing-a-bang. And this is the attempt at a rally. But I'm looking at in terms of in a wave system. And if you're going to count Elliott waves on this thing or something. You know, even the 5-minute chart here, a lot of low risk trading. Well, in other words, when things starts to come unwrapped here on this, what happened last night, it's kind of a drifty, go nowhere kind of night. Very narrow ranges, but even from a buy stop entry, picking up this, and I was trading this last night actually, buy sell buy sell. Once it fell through the floor here, it is the amount of plunge. So don't chase, but comes back and you get the color change underneath the last nail. So this is a broader filter, and it gives you confidence in the top bottom theory of a 5-minute chart that's rolling over. Like here's a beautiful one. These are the dojis coming across. Just killer. Now you could actually play this back in Strategy Tester and train yourself to catch these moves. The thing is, when the market heats up like here, big plunge, this is your only chance to sell, and maybe this slight pullback in. That's what I really like about it, is that when it takes off, if you do want to get on the short train, you got about 10 minutes here as it's coming back up, and it just can't get the party started. Same thing here, top bottom with a background of the bullish color. Same here, top bottom after the switch in color comes. So wait for the switch. If you want confirmation, top becomes a bottom with the color confirming. It's okay to load the wagon on those things. And here's even a top bottom with the blue, which I think anytime you see blue after a big green or whatever this is, it's going to be a triangle of some sort. This isn't really a triangle. This is more of just a come back to the apex of the triangle kind of thing. Like since this is not a triangle, but you're always looking left at these triangles. And of course, we're all going to be buying here, right? I mean, it's at that color. So if you walk it forward, you see it, pause, hesitate. No, it's not going to happen. So the buyers did come in, but 5 minutes of rally into the blue said, you know what, they're just smashing that thing to pieces. And if you go way back anywhere in this chart, I guess since the market's closed, I can move around here. Like here's a creeper gear walk up, and all these moves have a different pace. Unfortunately, the market seems to never. It's very autistic-ish or whatever. It's very clumsy. But if you are going to be a strict filter trader, you only trade from the long side during this whole color shift. Only looking for tops to become bottoms. That's all you're looking for. And it takes a while to make 25 pips here. Just lumbering along. Certainly a lot of people taking profits here. And probably here for sure. Here's a very explosive move. The only chance to get on a long train for not too much, and then they just crush it. So it's very 5-minute chart's very yin yang. You have to be very much on your toes. I won't recommend the 1-minute chart for this system unless you're like this guy I talked to who's on a 15-second chart. So you have no idea what people are doing out there. But look at all these cells. Failure into that blue. So using the line chart as my structure entry with a backdrop of smooth candles, at a glance trading pretty much. So I just created this template. I'm going to save it, and the layering in here can be anything, I suppose. I think I've got I don't know if I showed you this. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 layered, and I got the grids, moving average on top, So I can change the thickness of this and beef it up, which is a nice thing to do because I really want clarity. I don't want ambiguity when I'm betting money or whatever you call it, trading. You know, trying to make, trying to get in on setups that really look great. And another thing is to occasionally zoom in on these. Now, if I have this in the rearview mirror, this one, and this is my new template, and I'm running this on the 1 minute, you can see that if you are a scalper, with this 5 minute with the 1 minute, I mean, you're really doing some serious button pushing here, but you're only pulling the trigger on the blues after a big run up. And you can see the triangle here, but you're really trading the small blues after a run. You have to make a judgment call there. Now, here was the rollover where they switched in, but it is smoothing it out. I mean, for all the people that do trade candles, God forbid, but like if you make this the 5 minute chart, and this may be a more civilized way of looking at it, because this is going to keep you from over trading it. At least it would keep me from over trading it. And it would slow you down a little bit. So if you're a person that this guy talked to you today, you lose your mind. I thought I was hyper impatient, so I'm at this guy, 15-second chart, mind you. Let's see. Go to, I would just put a 15 minute. Now this is going to give you the least amount of stress in your life, and maybe you'll make a couple bucks with this way of doing it, where you see this big sell-off where it's all blue. Of course, the volatility here may make you step away from it, but again, like I did in the other video, you really are coming down to this. Now the colors are all about the same here as the other video, but the nice thing about this, you can pick out a color combination, like be an interior decorator, and get your own color combination going. Big rally here into the blue, and then the so in the rear view mirror you have this 15 minute. Here's your 5, or you're going to put the 15 here, and you're going to come in with the, say, the 1 hour to the left. But you got to get some type of rhythm that you feel comfortable having the patience to place your buy pendings here. And if it's only for confirmation that you're in the right trend, you have that color in the background behind you, so it's like this backdrop of trend. And here you have the larger time frame. I say 1 hour is probably ideal, because I can certainly get my brain around 1 hour passing. And if I see a setup on the 1 hour here, I have no qualms or no hesitation to realize that as we come up this wonderful rally here, the party's coming to an end on the 1 hour, and here being the exception in this up, just beautiful, grandiose move there, but a lot of sell limits sitting up here because of the look left factor, and this triangle here stands out real good. Never made it up here for the sell. Just, you got to be long here, you know. But I'm certainly got a grid in here at all times to capture any psycho spikes, any of this stuff where time and again people are disappointed that they're long this thing. They move their stop to here, they get chopped out, and say they bought here, rode it all the way up, said it's a free trade, I'm letting go of the moon tonight, I'm going to go to sleep, and this climax up into here, that was all over. And you got this, on this one you have a little slit here, and this is like a really defined doji. These two guys here have this unique color, and here too, and this is a massive hammer. But it's not to say that that's the Z bottom and we're going up, but when you zoom in on these things, you see these double tops. Man, how can you miss this stuff? you know. So taking your, this basically the only way I could survive candles was what I call paint bars, or that's what they call them. And for a filter, absolutely. I mean, it's like an envelope, but always keeping the eye on that closing price, and going to the I'll go to the monthly chart. Now this is the same thing I did in the other thing, but this is a slightly different smoothing, so we have a slightly lagger. This doesn't respond the same way. So each one of these, not that there's some holy grail living here to be discovered, but in a way there is, from the standpoint of, notice that the layering I chose on here, and there's nothing magical about it, the numbers are right there. It's really the color combo, but look how you have these dojis that just stand out before the collapse. Total reversal, and it's 2 months in a row here before each of course it's already left the station by this point, right? So you have to anticipate that and use this only for confirmation to say, when we come up into here, it's okay to sell at the end of the day there. Here you can't sell at the end of the day because you're already down here. This doesn't really happen. That's why I have to have the line chart in there, because to really, I guess, visually backtest this and say, oh, would you take that trade? Really? Like, would you really take that trade based on that rule system? Like, here's an interesting situation. A top becomes a bottom, and the candles in this area, or this pullback here, the next candle has the unique inverted hammerish look with this. I think it's a heavy confluence point. This is the monthly, so you got a lot of time to get into this trade. And certainly quiet, and then this is the pullback just before that run up. And even here, this doji is echoed in the trailing, because anytime you see a flat, you're seeing a doji in essence. But the striping of the doji happens back there, and this is probably an inverted hammer. I don't know. It's kind of funny how that shows up in there. But building systems like this, you can hand to people. This is like, you could do this prop trading, which I never heard of actually until somebody talked about it. But any pullback into this, you learn something every day. Double top, pullbacks into that color, you're getting long. Just real easy. But at some point the trend's over. But here's the striper, letting you know tables have turned. And that's really when you get the moving average crossover, and when the robots are getting chopped to death and they get confused when the trend's over. You get the whipsaw, and the whipsaw shows up as this stripe thing just before we leave the station. So definitely the euro dollar has a different pace of rollover here than it did inside the other color thing that I did. You're definitely getting the you're getting this striped candle though. This one's really pretty. I did different layers of blue on this, trying to get it to be a very 3D-ish looking thing, where it's kind of got this the layering and getting the timing right there. Because if you got to stare at these charts all day, you want them to look as pretty as possible, I guess. And here's the if I put this on the vertical thing, so this is what it would like going into the session here. You're seeing, if you see a setup here, you see a bunch of blue. I know that means sell, but it just means oversold. And if in your rearview mirror you're running this 1 hour chart, you're going to get on the you're entering on the 15 for your entries. The looking at the, let's see here, look at 1 hour, and you're in an uptrend. So you really are looking for today's the day. What I used to do, and MetaTrader's actually going to queue these charts up symmetrically, but if you're only going to look at a day on the left side here, and you're going to do time frame overlay. So this is the opening of the day. So I'll put 1 day of candles here and 1 day of 15 minutes. So here's 1 hour, and that's the whole day. Now, when you fall out of bed here, we have a climax close into the end of that session. Here comes the Asian session. Big collapse out of the gate. But you could have gone short just before it happened because you did have the exception that proves the rule where you got the color change there. So if you walk through the trading day there, we plunge here. We're railing into the blue, and this is your first sell. You would take this small color shift of the first glimmer of hope for the bulls. And having sell stops here, you could write it down for another gust of wind because you're still blue on the left side. So using this as your master trend, and this is going to be your filter for the low risk entries here, just a smidgen. Now you could go to the 5 minute, but maybe that's too, this way you're doing 4/4 time because you have 15 into the 1 hour. So you have a quadra slice, and here any rally into the blue you're selling. As soon as we go into this color mode here, I think at that point on this guy here is this big move. It has not changed color yet. It doesn't change color until you get this pullback here, which corresponds to this. It's a lot easier to see in hindsight what you should have been doing and to trust in this color wheel stuff. Buyers are going to be coming in on Sunday here. They're also going to be coming in potentially here, which is only 25 pips deep. It's not even that. So you can see where you want to have your buy limits to trap and scalp and get all those kind of like easy trades that you can, like when you go play pool and you break the balls and you see all the balls are just near the pocket. To me, that's what these are. These are gimme trades. Ball comes into these stripes. It's just a gimme trade. Stripe cluster, look right. The wick, look right. But this party's going to end pretty soon, and this is going to go full blue. This will be the laggard, but a rally into the. In other words, when it's all blue like this, we're looking for the first place for the color shift switch, and when it goes all this color, we're looking for the opposite true. The problem is the pace of the market, and if you're going to trade with 20 pip stops, you have your stops and your limits here. So you know that you're never going to get, not never, but I mean, as the market quiets down, it's less risky, but of course your targets are lower. Always going to get in, without regard to this color system, having a sell limit, you can't go wrong with a sell limit at the high of the day. Just for a scalp. And having all these trades running, and you can be trading this thing the whole time, a little bit at the market, a little bit depending. Certainly the buy limits are coming here for Sunday for me. And the big kahuna pivot is this guy connected to that hammer. But without looking back any more than this, because if you really are just day trading this thing, now the other option would be to go here and go to the 4 hour and use the 1 hour over here. So, and that also is a quadra, a fourfold. If you want to organize these time frames, certainly the 4 hour to the 1 hour to the 15 is a symmetrical thing. But of course, not all 4 hour brokers have the same rollover. So here you'd be looking, let's say, a week's worth of data. Here was Sunday night open, right out of the gate, complete smash, destruction of the euro dollar. Scooch this over and create the 1 hour here. And in this case, you could probably even go to the half hour possibly, and then you'd be eight removed, 8 sessions removed. To get the full week, so this is Friday, Thursday, Wednesday is usually a swing low bottom in these markets. Tuesday and Sunday. So you might have to scrunch to here to get the whole story. I guess it's not going to fit, but I guess you just have to overlay this a little bit. So this is the whole week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On the 1 hour chart. So what's your trade with this color system? Well, certainly here was the last long, and then here you have the stripe candle. Looking to get short on any rallies into the blue. Rally into the blue, sell. Rally into the blue, sell. Rally into the blue, sell, but you're stopped out. Now you see the tables have turned because you made a higher close. First pullback, maybe take that. Second pullback for sure, and this is probably as good as it gets. A slight bit of color, a tinge of color in this elbow of these equal price pulses. Come to here, come to here. Beautiful. Yeah, really no-brainer stuff. And of course, buying these was a no-brainer. This was an expected house cleaning up into this on the 1 hour. Got to be a buyer here, just from structural standpoints. And if you get a little bit of blue here, you get a little thing. So maybe we're gonna next week we're gonna go after this thing and try to crawl out of this hole, or we're just gonna come up into this low from here, and we're gonna walk down, or maybe we just drift back and forth. But certainly, even in the drift back and forth mode, it is tradable on this system, because if you drag it back to last, if you're a day trader and you're looking for the you don't want to chase this big move, but you see it turns blue for a little bit, you can get in on the oversold here during the last run up. Keep it pretty simple. Now here's where it's a little dicey. It's down, so you're looking to it's blue, so you're looking to sell the smaller colors, but you're not making a ton of pips there. Or you're ignoring the color system just for the sake that you know that all the bulls have just got their dreams crushed. But where they crush their dreams to is the previous support there. So even if you did go short on this rally into blue on the 1 hour, this failed rally into blue, you can actually trade it from both directions. Buy that, then sell it again. Because any rallies into the blue you're selling, and any pullbacks into the other color, like here, you're buying. And here's just the structure thing of this bottom becoming the top, but you got the color saying, well, it's on an uptrend, but you know that the last move was a big blue, so little green getting in. But the pace of this thing can be kind of a bit much. Certainly buying here was genius move. Anywhere in here for 25, 50, 75 pips. Selling up into this climax, and anytime I see this, I'm like, wow, I'm so not chasing that. I would drop down a smaller time frame, and maybe there's a couple bounces left, but typically if you see a big move like that and that's the end of the day, it's kind of over. You know, you're showing up late and the beer's flat. I mean, it's just not. But you can see some of this stuff coming. Here's a nice we start off with a nice trend. We go for the pullback. We get the slight color shift, plus we can cue it to this and get some confluence. We know they're itching to fill this whole zone here and go after it. 2 windows to get in on these, and here's the short story, the chance to get in on that. Really, the more better setup, really, I think, is that color shift. But over and over again, you know, same thing. You're going back to just go anywhere in this chart. Same story here. Big down, hope for the bulls. They're trying to pull that trend up, but your chance to really think about going the other way. Same thing here. The glimmer of color. This is the hope, and the fear is the blue. In an amazing uptrend here. My God, you know, here is the entrance. These are way more profitable than just the pullback here. Not to say these pullbacks into this backdrop of Haken, smooth Haken, it is really not getting the top. It's not even coming back. That's the 1 hour. But boy, when it takes a breath, holy mackerel. And this is just amazing. Before it leaves the station, you're trapped in a 50 pip range, and here comes the explosion. Ba-boom. Rollover. We're blue, looking to sell any rallies into a top bottom here. Amazing trade. Here is the doji. You don't even pull back. You never get a top bottom. This thing's so hell bent on going up, and then you just get the complete parabolic insanity. If you look left, it's hitting a spot on the chart that's pretty stupid obvious. And I'll go back further. Same story here in the 1 hour. And this 1 hour thing really is just a killer place to not overtrade these markets by having your sell limits at this structure point, but also getting confirmation that the bulls are coming back to life and you're getting that color shift. And you know that's short-lived. Same thing on an uptrend, short-lived blue. Not the best trade in the world here. Big blue crush. After that, pretty tough to get in there. That's really nothing but a big stop hunt there. Too many bulls on that train. So you can see the consensus, the sentiment, the consensus is bullish. Looking for exception. Here, bloodbath. So you are looking for pullbacks here. They completely went after this triangle down here on that. So you have to be keen about that one. And this is August, okay? This looks like the same thing that happened the other day. This is the same thing that happens again and again on these currencies. Is you're caught in a 50 pip vault down here, or it could be even a 100 pip vault of nonsense. This accumulation phase, when you fall through the floor here, the sellers are selling every rally into the blue, the trend bots and the trend people. We start to get quiet and we change. Uptrend goes blue, but the problem is that just like that other sell-off, you figure we're going long here to here, and then maybe it's gonna try to fill this void, but it starts to fill, and then it comes back for the retest of that triangle. So it's really a structure issue, but this blue does tell you in all these things that the only place to get long from the rule set of you need a backdrop color that fits the trend would be this one pullback here. And certainly this is the wick of that pullback. And here's the only other chance to get long, and then this one here. So if you walk forward on this, or you just play it out in strategy tester, and you have to just commit to these entries. Here you're getting in because of the pullback here, plus you have a top, became that bottom. Here's the pullback into the trend. You have to take that trade. So if you're a trend trader, you have to pull that trigger. Coming all the way back to here, same story. Now these are going to be days you're going to get punished sometimes, but not if you wait for this backdrop color to change color. Because even here, the rally into the blue, good place to get short. Rally into the blue, round to the blue. This is one where you get chopped. Pull back into after the trend. This is really the trend change that you would get in, say, moving average rollover. But this takes out that moving average isn't on your screen, and really these colors for even a novice individual in a 25 pip range Wow, the only glimpse of power of the bulls to, and you get this over and over again in these markets. I go anywhere in this chart, pull back into the dominant trend is up. The trend has changed here. The whole day actually is in an uptrend. The color switched, and you'll see this in Forex a lot where at the end of a session, the whole attitude changes. You can see it wonderfully on this Akinashi. The whole day is bearish. You're just looking for a place to sell. Here, we start off the day bullish. It goes terribly wrong. First exception to prove the rule here, but there's a big stop hunt here. Even if you sold here, I remember this, even if you sold here, this was news came out and just crushed. But in the end, it was going down. So if you had a 50 pip stop on this thing, you could have totally ridden out the punishment here. As you rally into the blue, you're selling. Rally into blue, sell. So that's what I'm going to be doing on the 1 hour charts. If I see on the 1 hour chart, on the 15 minute and the 5 minute, I'm getting a great setup, but I'm also getting this rally into this blue. I mean, that's 75 pips, you know. It's a lot of money. A lot of pips. Same thing here. Blue. Don't chase it. Wait for the counter switch. Wait for that counter switch. It's like, thank God the market's closed. I have to turn the chart shift off. Here's same thing. Background color says go long. You're looking for the structure entry. The top becomes a bottom, not so much. But you do have that little black peeking out. That is the true price. That is really the price. Akinashi is running a trail, so you can't see the true price. The true price is actually, the way I layered this is the thing that I wrote called bar, which is nothing more than a range bar. It's peeking its way outside of here, but notice it's peeking right into this top bottom. It's the ultimate setup. The top becomes a bottom. You know you're getting filled there. You have the backdrop of an uptrend. So you can define the trend out of the gate for the day. Here, you know these trends don't last forever, and you got the trend line. You know the switch is going to turn. Wait for the color to change. The first rally in blue you sell, and all the subsequent ones. You could go to the half hour, and that's going to be a little bit less risk. So let me just go to the half hour and do the same look back, and without the you have to trust this. You have to test this thing on your strategy tester and get used to just run it all weekend at whatever speed. You could run it real time to torture yourself, or run it twice normal time and get yourself cued to that signal or that visual cue, and get yourself prepared to pull the trigger on these puppies, I guess. Go to the half hour, which is quite a big difference actually. Not as gorgeous looking, but in a way less risky. More black wicks poking their way into the backdrop color. If you go to the 15, you just have to change the rule system. I can't, I tested a few robotish ideas, and I noticed that time frame does make a big difference if you gave it a smoothing criteria. Now here it's more like you have to be a little more keenly aware of the it's going to be a different rule system for these colors. As you can see, like half an hour trade here, the blue, you're looking for a break out of the blue. You're looking to get long here. But when this trend comes up here, can you buy the pullback into the trend? Yeah, sure. Here you could buy it. Here you could buy it. Here it's starting to get a little dicey. Here's when it goes sell mode. So the half hour is good too, because tighter stops, less risk, pull the trigger. We have a bottom comes to top with the thing, sell, sell, sell. Smashes down into that top. Here's an example where we pull back with a color shift. Unfortunately, the 15 minute without scrunching this out. Of course, the 15 minutes is going to show you the whole day from the standpoint of you only want to be in the market, say, for an hour or an hour and a half. Big explosive moves on the 15. So you have to be prepared for that, and the 15 is really giving you the, if you look back in time here, it is giving you these poke-through wicks. So you could see in hindsight, had you had a sell limit, because you are on the 15, you can place orders on that top, and hopefully you get filled on that. This was the double bottom, it became the double top. You have the blue in the background, you got a green light to sell. The problem is when you get this color shift here and you're trying to buy the pullbacks into this color, they're just not huge trades. You really have to keep your targets lower. But when it really pays off, you know, I mean, look at this. Here's a whole day of, you know, this is the Asian session here. I guess you could say this is the exception in the blue for a sell. Not a lot of pips. And pretty quiet. You can see them trapping in both directions. They trap the bulls, they trap the bears. When London opens, big rally, not even a chance to get on the train, maybe this slight pullback, but not a lot to get in. Here, the rollover coming into the US Open, I think, probably right. We roll over, we go all blue instead of chasing and selling here, wait for that pullback into the blue. Another structured trade. The 15, the bottom becomes a top. Here, there's no chance to even get on this thing. And these things will take off like a rocket, and no color shift here, amazingly holding up against that trend for more punishment, finish out the day. Or maybe that could have even been a Friday or something. Yeah, that was Friday. It looks like a Friday where they just punish it, because here's Sunday open. So the whole attitude changes session to session. The first rally, glimmer of hope, early bottom pickers getting in here to ride this trend, but doesn't really pay off too much, and every day has a little different character to it. Buy and pull back here for this thing, but as soon as you get here, you'd be buying here, buying, stopped out. First chance to get short is here on this flat doji, comes at top. But you don't get a chance to get on these trains unless you just look for that rally in. Now you could put a candle on top of here that's the real candle. So maybe you want to do that. And you know, you could certainly do that. I'm only using the line chart because I think I can see when it goes up visually. I can switch this to putting in a candle on top. Old-fashioned candles on top, but then it becomes a color mess. And I didn't want to go there. I wanted to go pure smooth candles with the idea that my line chart is going to be my structure entry.